worldwide.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best, with more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart, and this is One Moment in America. In the course of our day, any day, we hear hundreds of thousands of words. But which of the words we hear is most powerful? I'll tell you that story after this important message.
Hello, this is Kelly Stewart. Today, all across America, Jerry is telling the true stories of war through the interviews of those veterans who were there. We believe with all of our hearts that the people of America must be told over and over that freedom is not free. It's so very easy to accept freedom, but so very hard to win it. If you would like to get your own CD copy of A Tribute to Our Heroes, call our order line at 817-995-6965 right now and place your order. Call now and we'll give you a second CD copy. That number again, 817-995-6965. Or you can order online at jerrystewartusa.com. The price for all of this, just $17.95 plus $6 shipping and handling, for a total of $23.95. Call 817-995-6965 right now to order.
Why are some words so powerful while others just don't stick? It's the actions behind them. A wise man once said, "People may doubt what you say, but they'll never doubt what you do. And when you walk what you talk, people will listen." And that's so true. But if we make a mistake, get off track, are we to quit trying to walk the right way? No. We're to keep trying, keep walking. But how? Pray a lot. Ask God to lead you. Seek His will and His guidance. But most of all, don't stop trying. Don't give up the walk. I'm Jerry Stewart, and that was One Moment in America.
For the Washington State News Network, I'm Michael McDonald. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson taking legal action against those that manufactured forever chemicals, or PFAS. The lawsuit claims 20 companies were aware of the risks the chemicals cause to people and the environment for years. It seeks an order that would require the manufacturers now to pay the cost to treat, monitor, and investigate the PFAS contamination and pay for all damages to the state. This comes as Washington is requiring water districts now to test for PFAS, and exposure to PFAS has been linked to cancer, along with problems of infertility and developmental issues in children. A homeless camp that sprang up along Interstate 90 east of Spokane in the fall of 2021 will be closing at the end of the month. At one point, 600 people were living in what was known as Camp Hope.
According to information from the city of Spokane, the camp's final 27 residents and 5 RVs will be gone for good by the end of June. A judge ruled 3 months ago the camp was a public health hazard and ordered the state and city to create a plan to vacate the area.
That is John McKay reporting. After months of wrangling with the Department of Transportation, city and state officials said a final plan will go into effect. Most of the homeless residents were offered or taken to other facilities in the Spokane area. For details on these stories and others, download the WSNN mobile app or visit WashingtonStateNews.net.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Every 2 seconds, a hospital patient needs a life-saving blood transfusion. Every 2 seconds, there's an urgent need for blood donation. Every second matters. In an emergency, doctors may face impossible choices. Who gets blood and who must wait? Will you roll up a sleeve and give? Because of you, life doesn't stop. Donate blood. Make your appointment today at Vitalant.org.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The 2023 hurricane season is now underway.
NOAA is predicting a near-normal 2023 Atlantic hurricane season.
That's Mike Farrar, director of NOAA's National Centers for Environmental Prediction. Correspondent Rita Foley reports on what to expect on the upcoming Atlantic hurricane season.
Mike Brennan, the director of the National Hurricane Center in Miami, says they're expecting a busy hurricane season with as many as 17 named storms. 1 to 4 of those could power up into major hurricanes. He says it only takes one storm in your area to make it a busy season for you.
Correspondent Rita Foley. Also at townhall.com, now it's the Senate's turn to vote on a debt ceiling and budget cuts package to avert a U.S. default crisis. Donna Warder has more.
The Senate is expected to act quickly on the package that was negotiated between President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Yesterday, the proposal sailed through the House on a bipartisan vote. The hard-fought compromise has pleased few, but lawmakers believe it's better than the alternative, a devastating economic upheaval if Congress fails to act. Biden will be watching the Senate from Colorado Springs, where he's scheduled today to deliver the commencement address at the U.S. Air Force Academy. Donna Warder, Washington.
2 Mississippi police officers have been shot. One of them has died. It happened during a standoff that started as a hostage situation. The suspect also shot and killed at a home in the Jackson suburb of Brandon. Officers did rescue the hostage. The Department of Public Safety has not immediately released any names. On Wall Street, stocks are higher. The Dow up 207 points and the Nasdaq adding 167. More at townhall.com.
People ask me sometimes, Lance, I'm worried about my finances and I feel bad because I shouldn't be worried, right? I realize that inflation is going to be eating up money. I've got to do something to get around this crazy stock market and Biden's spending spree. Gold has, since the beginning of time, been the resource that God's people have relied on. The silver is mine and the gold is mine, is what the prophet Haggai said during a time of great shaking. To protect your retirement, I recommend that you diversify your 401k or IRA right out of paper assets and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with Gold IRA from the Birch Gold Group. I want you to text the words FAITH, F-A-I-T-H, to 989898 and get a free info kit on gold IRAs. There's no strings attached to this, so just text FAITH, F-A-I-T-H, to 989898 and see what I've discovered here about gold and its ability to stabilize your investment and create a storage of wealth for you in unsteady times.
A former Brazilian president has been sentenced to nearly 9 years in prison for corruption and money laundering.
The Supreme Court sentenced Mr. Collor to 8 years and 10 months behind bars. His conviction is part of the sprawling car wash investigation. It has led to charges against a large number of Brazilian politicians, officials and business leaders. Mr. Collor denies all the allegations, which are said to have taken place from 2010 to 2014 when he was senator. Now 73, Mr. Collor won't be jailed until any appeals have been heard. He was Brazil's first directly elected president after decades of military rule ended in the late 1980s. He stepped down following separate corruption allegations.
The BBC's Phoebe Hobson, a leading Argentine meteorologist elected as the first female head of the United Nations Weather Agency. The World Meteorological Organization said Celeste Salo received the necessary two-thirds backing from member states. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. More than 300 firefighters from the U.S. and South Africa are heading to Canada in the coming days as that country battles an unprecedented wildfire season. The wildfires forcing nearly 21,000 people from their homes in Nova Scotia. Canada will soon become the first country in the world to have warning labels appear on individual cigarettes.
Canada's mental health and addiction minister says these bold steps will make health warning messages virtually unavoidable. The warnings on the cigarettes in English and French include poison in every puff, tobacco smoke harms children, and cigarettes cause impotence. Health Canada wants to reduce tobacco use below 5% by 2035. It says tobacco use kills 48,000 Canadians every year. The regulations take effect in August and will be phased in. King-size cigarettes will be the first to feature the warnings. I'm Ed Donahue.
More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
From the Radio Pacific News.
Logging onto social media, the algorithm has your daughter in its crosshairs. It sends her a steady flow of images telling her she isn't thin enough, pretty enough. They invade her brain, causing body dysmorphia, anxiety, depression, leading to the worst rates of eating disorders, self-harm, and suicide we have ever known. All while she's sitting right next to you on her phone. Congress knows, but it refuses to act. Don't let her suffer the secret pain alone. Use your voice. Demand a plan. Join us at the Center for Countering Digital Hate, protectingkidsonline.org, because it's up to you to protect your children from social media nightmares. Join us for her, for your daughter.
This is the Newsradio KONP Noon Report.
Todd Ortloff in the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Thursday, June 1st. The Washington Department of Ecology looking for public comment on cleanup documents for the Terminals 5, 6, and 7 upland site along the Port Angeles waterfront. The comment period opens today. It runs through July 3rd. The public can review the cleanup documents for the site, which is located along Marine Drive in PA, generally known as the Log Yard. The Port of Port Angeles owns the land and has entered into a legal agreement with Ecology as the potentially liable party at the site. Although the full extent of contamination there is not known, the history of the activities at that location includes mill operations, wood processing, a hog fuel boiler, and large storage tanks of fuel oil and ammonia. Potential toxins needing cleanup include petroleum hydrocarbons, dioxins, furans, PCPs, and TECPs. It's also been noted that based on the long history of tribal presence around the harbor, there's a high probability of cultural resources in that area, which would limit the investigation and cleanup activities that could disturb the ground. Ecology is coordinating with the Lower Elwha-Clallam tribe on that issue. More information about the site and the comment period are in the fact sheet included with this story on our website at myclallamcounty.com. Ecology said in a statement that they will consider public comments submitted through July 3rd, and if there are no changes, the port will likely begin coring and other activities this summer. And you may see some workers in drilling trucks installing wells near the shoreline and conducting surveys there. You may have noticed by now, Bird e-scooters have come to Port Angeles for a summer-long pilot program. The company deployed 75 scooters on Friday. It's appeared early on that the program does have some customers, though how many is not known yet. Here's how it works. Users download the Bird app on their phones and register with a credit or debit card. Company policy is that riders must be 18 years or older. The app tells you where the nearest electric scooter is and unlocks the scooter's mechanism for $1. The rider then squeezes one handle to go up to 15 miles per hour, squeezes the other one to slow down and stop. Riders are charged 39 cents a minute at a $3.50 minimum plus tax. And when you're done, you leave the scooter almost anywhere, though rules on that may change as we move through the summer. Last August, in anticipation of this pilot program, the PA City Council voted to allow the operation of scooters on streets whose speed limits are above 30 miles per hour when there's a designated bicycle lane, which opens up streets that were previously off limits to scooters in Port Angeles. City staff are working with a company to implement additional program details, including geofencing that will keep the scooters out of some areas of the city by shutting them down, and specified locations for actual pickup. Staff made a point to emphasize it's still a pilot program, saying the limited time period will allow the city, its residents, and visitors to assess the program's potential benefits and its disadvantages. They said they're going to welcome feedback on the program and will launch a community survey in late summer to help in that effort. In other news, State Senator Mark Mullet is joining the race to be Washington's next governor, and in an initial press release distanced himself from his party affiliation. The Democrat from East King County has been a state senator since 2013 and frequently found himself at odds with Governor Jay Inslee on policy. He openly disagreed with Inslee's plan to increasing the state's bonding capacity for housing and co-sponsored a bill to limit gubernatorial emergency powers. The current vice chair of the Senate Ways and Means Committees also urged fiscal restraint while in the Senate, touting his credentials as a small business owner in Issaquah. But conspicuous in his initial press release out yesterday is it does not mention a party affiliation. While its last Senate race pitted him against another Democrat, and at that time it split party loyalties. The man accused of shooting and killing a woman in Tacoma allegedly fired shots during a fight with the victim about money for gas. That according to new court documents. On May 15th, about 8 p.m., Tacoma police found a woman had been shot in the head. The 28-year-old woman taken to a hospital where she was pronounced dead. Her boyfriend, who was with her at the time of the shooting, was able to identify the suspect as 37-year-old Bobby Joe Ezra Plain. According to court documents, Plain was out of jail on active DOC supervision. He's been charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and first-degree unlawful possession of a firearm. Plain is a convicted felon and therefore prohibited from owning or possessing a firearm. He had a first appearance in court yesterday. Prosecutors issuing an arrest warrant for the man suspected of shooting and killing 2 bartenders in Federal Way May 21st. Officers called about 3:30 in the morning to the Stars Bar and Grill, responding to reports of a shooting with several victims. They arrived and found 2 women who were bartenders there, dead from gunshot wounds. A third victim, a man, was injured with a gunshot wound and taken to a hospital. They were shot in the parking lot as they left the bar. Police believe the shooting stemmed from an earlier dispute with another customer. Detectives identified the suspect as 31-year-old Samuel Ramirez Jr., who is now wanted for first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and attempted murder now. Detectives with the Bellevue Police Department looking for anyone who witnessed a kidnapping and an assault there over the Memorial Day weekend. According to police, multiple people called 911 about 10 p.m. Saturday, reporting that 2 men got out of a vehicle in the East Bellevue downtown park area and fought with another man before forcing him into their SUV and then sped off with him. Just after 2 a.m., a convenience store employee reported that a disoriented man was inside his store. The employee said it appeared the man had been assaulted. Responding officers and firefighters learned the man was the victim of the earlier kidnapping. He was taken to the hospital and remains in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. Tukwila police say a man buying a gun early yesterday morning accidentally shot himself in the leg. About 4 a.m., officers responded to the report of the man with a gunshot wound. When they arrived, they found the 42-year-old man had shot himself in the thigh. Officers applied a tourniquet to the man's leg until medics arrived and took him to the hospital. During their investigation, the man told officers he was there to buy a gun. At some point during the purchase, he accidentally shot himself. However, police say the man is a convicted felon, which prohibits him from possessing a gun. Officers found the gun in the man's car, and his car was impounded for evidence in the case. Firefighters in Lacey anticipating battling a fire at the abandoned Ostrom mushroom site there for days to come. Video show the roof had partially collapsed on the facility by last night, and smoke could be seen rising from inside. Lacey Fire District 3 said the thermal column on the fire could be seen from miles around. Crews responded to the area about 4 yesterday afternoon for a smoke investigation, then called in a second alarm. The building has been abandoned for a number of years. Lacey firefighters said they responded to the building before because of squatters. Parent night for the 6th grade at nearby Nisqually Middle School had to be canceled due to the smoke that was coming from that fire. This is Newsradio KONP.
The following is a paid advertisement.
This is Church Watch, brought to you by LutherCanon.com. You know, if we really think the political arena doesn't dovetail into the theological arena, then we've got another thought or 5 or 10 coming. Come on out there, people. Look at what is currently going on. That's right, church. Lift those sleepy eyelids and look with both eyes wide open. And you out there on the other side of the equation, you may want to do the same. The things that are coming down the pike now from the political secular arena are trampling all over the so-called sacred line of separation between church and state and are fully vested in the affairs that used to be the church's domain, and the church is just sitting back and letting it go on. Am I missing something here? Well, I must be, because this is a first in the good old USA. Since when has it ever been right for the state to question issues of morality, justice, decency, and general right and wrong, and go about brazenly changing it all while the church goes silent? One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, where did that go? Now, normally I'm very calm and cool and lovey-dovey. But this stuff should raise some eyebrows and cause some blood to boil a bit. People, where is this all going? What is going to be the end of this? We need to stop a minute, sit in silence before God, and get this figured out. God never intended this for this peninsula area. We are looking for a beauty to kiss the beast. And God has a beauty in store, one way or the other. For Church Watch, this was Gordon Haddad.
The preceding was a paid advertisement.
Weather forecast rest of today, sunshine, upper 50s, maybe low 60s later this afternoon. Clear tonight, lows will be down in the 40s, and west winds to 20 miles per hour this evening. Mostly sunny again tomorrow, a little bit warmer, mid-60s, and clear Friday night with lows in the mid to upper 40s. Sunny for Saturday and highs in the 60s, and clear Saturday night, lows will be in the mid to upper 40s. As you head to Sunday, more sunshine with mid to upper 60s for the highs, and clear skies Sunday night. Lows will be in the upper 40s. And Monday, the sunshine continues, sunny and low 70s. Monday night, clear, lows in the low to mid 50s. Sunny and mid 70s for Tuesday. Tuesday night, mostly clear, mid to upper 50s for the overnight lows, and upper 70s and sunny for Wednesday next week as we look ahead. Right now, it is sunny across the North Olympic Peninsula. It's 56 now in Port Townsend, out west at Forks, 61 degrees. In Squim, 63 now. It's 51 downtown on the waterfront in Port Angeles, and at the airport here in PA, it's 59. Coming up next hour on the Todd Ort Live Show, we're going to be talking with Port Angeles School Superintendent Marty Brewer. Lots to talk about as they put the cap on the last school year and some big budget cuts. We'll get his take on where things are headed for the school district in PA heading into the coming school year. And it's Thursday, and that means our business bits. We've got all sorts of great advice for you if you're in business, work for a business, or know someone in a business. Kevin Holt will be joining us in the second part of the show next hour.
When shopping for building supplies, lumber, home goods, or hardware items, are you traveling to one of those big box stores? When you wander those big box store aisles, how's that customer service? Absent? Possibly lacking in knowledge?
I don't know.
At Angeles Millwork and Hartnaggles, we have 2 convenient Port Angeles locations, and each one is far from the big box store experience.
Yay!
Since our stores are employee-owned, each one of us has a vested interest in how we serve and treat our customers. You won't find us hiding in the back aisle or turning the other way when you make eye contact for help.
They can't see me if I can't see them.
We're excited to share our day with you while making sure we set the bar high for what true customer service is all about. So if you're looking for a hometown building supply store that treats their customers like next-door neighbors, has deep knowledge on building products while continually supporting the local community, then avoid those trips out of town and come see us today. Angeles Millwork and Hartnagel Building Supply, building homes, building community since 1906.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Newsradio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Just minutes ago, ahead of the closing bell, it looks like Wall Street is going to kick off the new month of June with some pretty solid gains on growing consensus that the Federal Reserve is going to hit the pause button this month on its interest rate hikes. Right now, it's got the Dow 0.33% higher, the tech-heavy NASDAQ up 1%, the S&P 500 0.75% higher. Some good news ahead of Friday's May jobs report. Private sector hiring up by 278,000 workers in May, far more than forecast. Apple planning on adding dozens of new Apple stores worldwide, pushing deeper into China, Japan, South Korea, and India, and overhauling stores here in the U.S. and in Europe. In total, 53 new, relocated, or remodeled stores in the next 4 years. And the average cost of raising a child in America now about $21,000 a year, according to the financial data firm Smart Asset. Cities in South Carolina and Tennessee were the cheapest. San Francisco was tops, costing $36,000. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Last check in the noontime road and traffic conditions next. Brought to you by Leeds Farm Supply and by Price Ford.
With Bad Boy's patented Easy Ride and Gen 2 independent suspension, heavy-duty American-made steel construction, and legendary muscle, there's no mower that brings more comfort, durability, power, and value to mowing pros and homeowners than a Bad Boy mower. Mow with an attitude? That's the driving force behind every mower we build in the good old USA. Our promise to lead the industry in innovation and performance. Get your Bad Boy mower at Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales in Squim. Mow with an attitude.
Spring is here. We've traded clouds for sunshine, and Price Ford is bringing you 0% interest on several of our best-selling vehicles. Hi, folks. This is Mark Ostrich.
And Abigail.
If interest rates are a concern, Price Ford has you covered. New Mustangs are now at 0% APR. That's both the EcoBoost and GT. The new Ford Edge, Escape, and Escape Hybrid, Explorer, F-150 gas trucks, all coming in at 0% APR. Several other programs apply, and the savings is tremendous. Put your interest rate concerns to rest at Price Ford.
Back-to-back winners of the best customer service and best dealership on the peninsula.
Stop in and visit with one of our amazing staff, see what you've been missing, and park a new Ford in your driveway at 0% interest. We've got a lot of incredible inventory to choose from. Hurry in for the best selection. Price Ford, next to Walmart in Port Angeles.
Let me do this part. Always right on the price.
Close enough.
Radio KONP, traffic and roads.
All right, so things gets kind of busy out there. Just volume picking up everywhere. No other big issues aside from that. But you're going to get yourself a little delayed out there as things are pretty busy on First Front, Lincoln Streets. One of the big issues downtown is they've had one lane closed off heading into downtown on Front Street. And that is causing a lot of issues downtown right now as you're heading into the greater Port Angeles area. But aside from that, everything else is just going fine considering it's noontime and the volume is picking up. Squim, no problems. Everything's good all the way to the Hood Canal Bridge. No issues there as well at this point. And heading out west, no big problems that way as well. Of course, just that construction that's been going on where the new Elwha River Bridge will be going in there on Highway 101. CEO pay growth is slowing. ABC's Daria Albinger says that still may not make a lot of workers feel much better about their compensation, though.
CEOs still make a lot of money. A whole lot of money, but they're getting smaller raises. The typical compensation package for the man or woman in the corner office of an S&P 500 company rose less than 1% last year to a median of $14.8 million. That's according to data by Equilar. It was the smallest yearly increase since 2015, but it would still take a typical worker 186 years or an average of 2 lifetimes to make that kind of annual pay. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
NASA wants to make it clear it's not hiding anything. During its first public meeting on UFOs yesterday, a panel of scientists and experts revealed it has reviewed more than 800 cases of reported unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, with more coming in all the time. ABC's Rhiannon Alley has more on it.
Former astronaut Scott Kelly, who spent nearly a year in space, giving this account of his experience with the UAP while flying an F-14.
The guy that sits in the back of the Tomcat was convinced we flew by a UFO. We went to go look at it. It turns out it was Bart Simpson, a balloon.
The panel says 2 to 5% of incidents cannot be explained, so they're pushing for the government to collect better data. A Pentagon official says they are now building new sensors to better detect and investigate UAPs.
Amazon has agreed to pay more than $30 million after being accused of using Alexa and Ring doorbell cameras to collect voice and video data on adults and kids. ABC's Andrea Fujii has more on that.
The Federal Trade Commission says Amazon sacrificed privacy for profits and that it unlawfully stored voice recordings, geolocation information, and video for years. According to the complaint, Amazon promises customers it will delete users' data upon request. But until September 2019, Amazon is accused of keeping children's Alexa voice recordings indefinitely unless a parent actively deleted them. And even when Amazon did erase it, the company often kept the transcripts, violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act.
And speaking of technology, here's more tech news from Kim Commando's Consumer Tech Minute.
Imagine you were paralyzed from the neck down, or you were diagnosed with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Maybe you woke up in incredible pain or completely blind. These devastating health conditions are those that Elon Musk's company Neuralink wants to tackle with a computer chip brain implant, and he just got FDA approval to do it. I'm Kim Commando, brought to you by T-Mobile. Their advanced network now goes farther than ever before. Visit T-Mobile.com/55 today. Neuralink invented a device no bigger than a coin placed inside your brain powered by a lithium-ion battery. Very thin wires listen and talk to your brain cells. That convo is sent to a computer and then back to the brain implant. So a paralyzed person can text just by thinking about what they want to say. Neurological diseases could be stopped because the device tells the brain not to make those changes. Musk says soon implanting the brain chip will take only 30 minutes with no anesthesia. Incredible. Try my free daily tech newsletter at getkim.com.
Cutting back on your cable or electric bill is smart when you're pinching pennies, but you don't want to skimp on important things like security. With new hacks and threats coming out every day, using free antivirus software can put you at risk with out-of-date and unreliable protection. And remember, most free software is just using your data for profit. That's why you need complete security from a company you can trust, like my top pick, Total AV. Total AV's industry-leading security suite received the renowned VB100 award for detecting 100% of malware with zero false positives. Plus, it's simple to use, and a single plan covers up to 5 devices. Whether you're running Windows, Mac, iOS, or Android, you can stay protected at home, in the office, or on the go. Get an exclusive introductory discount by going to protectwithkim.com, and you'll get your first year for only $19. That's over 85% off the regular price. Get your introductory discount today at protectwithkim.com. Protectwithkim.com. That's protectwithkim.com.
For what it's worth, I'm Derek Dennis.
It's an absolute threat.
Raul Aguilar with the Department of Homeland Security talking about the recent surge in organized retail crime, a step beyond smash and grabs.
These criminal networks, they may be full-time drug traffickers that see an opportunity to work with a crew that's already stealing.
At a big box store like Home Depot,
it's growing double-digit year over year.
Scott Glenn, a vice president at the store, says thieves go in with targets in mind.
This is what we refer to our billion-dollar aisles, billions and billions of dollars worth of sales in this product, and then about a third of our losses from a theft and frauds perspective come from, power tools particularly.
And telling ABC News he sees several reasons.
Pandemic aside, which kind of emboldened some people wearing masks. There's the online proliferation. About 90% of our organized retail crime cases involve some type of online selling platform. Opioids and fentanyl continuing to drive the need for fast cash.
For what it's worth, I'm Derek Dennis, ABC News.
Attention business owners. Stop throwing your hard-earned money away on rent. Imagine owning your own building and saving thousands every year. Sound impossible? Not if you use General Steel. General Steel can help you save thousands by owning your own custom-designed building. Just call 888-74-STEEL. That's 888-74-STEEL to see how much money you can save with General Steel. Our buildings come with a 50-year warranty, and thousands of companies, from Fortune 500 corporations to startups, have trusted the General with their building needs.
If you need to expand or start a new business, you really need General Steel.
I'm very impressed with General Steel. Everyone's been extremely helpful. I'd recommend General Steel to anyone looking to build a steel building.
Stop wasting money on rent. Call 888-74-STEEL. That's 888-74-STEEL to find out about all our popular quick construction kits, including a 40 by 60 foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building. Just call 888-747-8335 now. That's 888-74-STEEL.
The North Peninsula's news. The North Peninsula's talk. Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles, Sequim, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The debt ceiling package now making its way through the Senate, and just like in the House, lawmakers from both parties are voicing concern over funding and cuts. The bill needs to be finalized by Monday to avoid a first-ever government default on loans.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham threatening to run out the debt default clock until that House-passed deal gets changed in the Senate.
There's not a dime in this bill for Ukrainian military assistance. So I will keep us here to Tuesday until I hear a commitment from the Democratic leader.
Most Democrats and Republicans insisting the deal must get passed now, and they can decide the other foreign aid spending priorities later. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
President Biden is in Colorado today. He delivered the commencement speech at the U.S. Air Force Academy. He took a quick spill on stage, but is okay.
After about an hour and a half of shaking hands during the diploma presentation at the Air Force Academy commencement, President Biden started to jog away from his position on stage. He appeared to trip on something and then fell to the ground. People quickly rushed to help him up, and once he was back on his feet, the president pointed back at something on the stage. He continued walking away and shook some more hands. White House Communications Director Ben LeBolt writes in a tweet about the president, quote, "He's fine. There was a sandbag on stage while he was shaking hands." Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Republican candidates are on the trail today in key states. Former President Trump campaigning in Iowa, where Florida Governor Ron DeSantis spent the first days kicking off his campaign this week. DeSantis is now in New Hampshire. Next week, Vice President Mike Pence and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie are expected to announce that they will enter the 2024 race. The FDA is warning people not to use off-brand forms of popular weight loss drugs like Ozempic, saying that the compounded drugs are made for specific patients and are not reviewed for safety and effectiveness. You're listening to ABC News.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Rescue efforts in Davenport, Iowa, now recovery efforts at the site of the partial building collapse. Richard Oswald is the Director of Development and Neighborhood Services, and he was asked about whether the building was deemed livable before the collapse.
At the time and the information we had, based on the engineering reports from Select Structural, there was no cause to think they shouldn't be. So that was why that permit was issued for that repair work to be done.
There are still 3 people who are still unaccounted for. The Supreme Court issues a blow to organized labor.
In this case, a strike by truckers ended up destroying property. Truck drivers for Glacier Northwest, a Washington state concrete company, went on strike with concrete still inside their mixing trucks. The company sued, saying it had to throw away the unused concrete at a financial loss. The Washington State Supreme Court ruled in favor of the truckers union, arguing what happened was protected under federal labor laws. But in an 8-1 decision, the Supreme Court reversed that ruling. Lindsay Watts, ABC News, Washington.
We know about warning labels on packs of cigarettes, but Canada is taking it one step further. It will soon be the first country where warning messages will appear on individual cigarettes. Health officials say the labels are aimed at helping people kick the habit and reduce smoking to less than 5% of the population. This is ABC News.
Here's a message just for the attorneys out there. So you passed the bar, joined a firm, or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal technology provider with over a decade of experience streamlining administrative tasks like timekeeping, billing, and more, so you can focus on maximizing billable hours and increasing client satisfaction. Call 855-4-LEXICON or visit lexiconservices.com/go to learn more.
I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results. 457-6600. State Senator Mark Mullet is joining the race to be Washington's next governor, and in an initial press release distanced himself from his party affiliation. The Democrat from East King County has been a state senator since 2013 and frequently found himself at odds with Democrat Governor Jay Inslee on policy. Conspicuously, in his initial press release out yesterday, he does not mention his party affiliation in announcing his run. Mullet's last Senate race pitted him against another Democrat, and at that time it split party loyalties.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast. Sunny skies and calm this afternoon with highs around 60. Winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies. Tonight, lows level off around 46. A blend of clouds and sun. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 62. Mid-60s Saturday and Sunday. Once again, high of 60 this afternoon. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 58 degrees.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
All right, welcome to the program. Going to spend the first couple of segments at least here with the superintendent of the Port Angeles School District, Marty Brewer. So we're going to take a look back on what has been kind of a rather trying year, to say the least, at the end of it, and maybe a little look forward as to how he sees things as well. Marty, it's always great to have you in the studio. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you, Todd. Glad to be back.
And I'm not making light of it all, but I think suffice to say the last couple of months have been a pretty tough go for you guys.
Yeah, we've been actually working on, some of the things like budget reduction since January 1st of this calendar year. So right. It's a combination or a culmination of a lot of work to strategically try to reduce budget, and which is never easy.
Those who had followed the news, actually the reduction in force notice were approved, I guess if you call it that, just this past week. And there's a lot of folks that are getting notice that their positions have to be eliminated.
Yeah. Yeah, we're reducing $5 million, and in a $55 million organization, we're talking about 9% cuts. And so when you're a school system, a majority of your expenses are related to employee expenses. In fact, like 84% of our expenditures are employees. And so there's not a lot of other things to cut other than people, which is very unfortunate.
So let's talk about kind of how it got to this, because this is it's not really a surprise in a way, because you've been on this show months even before this came to it saying, this has got to be dealt with, because this is now we're at that point where the bridge money, if you will, the gap money, wasn't going to be there for the district, and this has to do with the way the state is funding schools now.
Yeah, our reductions really fall in two parts, and I like to view myself as an honest and transparent man. There are some things that we own around budget decisions that we made, and then some other issues that we can't own that are really state generated through formula. And so in our $5 million reductions, we own $2 million of that. And why I say that is, when COVID hit in the spring of 2020, we lost 250 students. Each student comes, you can just use a round number of about $10,000. And so we lost $2.5 million in revenue when COVID hit. The federal government provided some relief dollars to, one, get our kids back in schools, and two, help with learning recovery. And so we've been using those relief dollars to offset the new normal, let's say, around the enrollment for the Port Angeles School District. And so when COVID hit, we lost 250 kids, nearly right out of the gate. About half of those have returned. And so, we have between 125 and 140 students that still have not returned. And so, that equates to approximately $2 million. And we have used those federal relief dollars to maintain our level of staffing over the last 2.5 years to keep class sizes small. I don't know if you remember, but back in the day when we were trying to run a hybrid model, and we were running sometimes 6 bus routes a day to run an AM, PM schedule for elementary elementary age students to get them in school 5 days a week. We use the relief funds for all of that work to include staffing to maintain a low teacher or staff to student ratio. Well, the federal relief dollars are now exhausted, and so we have to rebalance our district finances and FTE or staffing line to, our new normal right now around enrollment. So about $2 million, like I will own, and we will explain what we did and what we didn't do with the relief dollars. The other $3 million are really formula driven from the state of Washington, and I think I've been fairly vocal around the challenges that the formulas provide to districts like Port Angeles, and the one thing I want to emphasize is not just Port Angeles district. You're seeing anywhere from, best that I can count, 20 to 30 districts across the state of Washington that are facing substantial reductions just like we are. And so there are some components to the formulas at the state level that, if there's not some solutions in the next couple of years, we're going to see that number double and even triple, because there are some formula-driven activities that come by way of the prototypical model that we can't sustain. And so my hope is that we continue, I know we will, at the Port Angeles School District level and board, continue to advocate for ourselves with the legislature, but there really needs to be some thoughts around looking at the formulas and what it does to certain districts, and what benefits it provides to some districts, and what detriment it provides to some districts. And it seems like every formula-driven solution for Port Angeles is a deficit.
That's what I was just going to get at. But why is that? So, and maybe you can. This is going to get way into the weeds for folks, but can you simply explain? People look at this. They heard the McCleary decision, and they said, that's going to fix it all, right? Well, it didn't.
Yeah. I think the core of it is really around, every district in the state of Washington has what we call AV, which is assessed valuation. Mm-hmm. And so, you take all of the properties in a school system, in a school district, and you add it up and you get a sum. That's the AV for the school district, or the assessed valuation. Well, that relates to tax dollars, because we run EP&O levies for extra programs, for the music program, for the athletic program, for extra nurses, for extra counselors, etc. And so those are the enrichments that we offer by way of our local taxes. And so, when you look at districts like Port Angeles, size, and different regions across the state, and you look at our assessed valuation total compared to districts like ours, we are significantly lower in our property values as it relates to districts similar in size to us. So, hence, we collect less local money, because of the, having less property to tax. And so the answer is not to increase the local taxes. The answer is to come up with some formula-driven, solutions at the state level. The state used to have what they called levy equalization,
right? Yeah.
Where a district like ours we're considered, and this is, I'm going to say this, and I know it offends some folks, but we're considered a property poor district. Mm-hmm. There are property rich districts and property poor districts when you take that AV. And so, there used to be a formula at the state level that when you were considered a property poor district, rather than tax your citizens more at the local level, there was equalization money that the state would supplant to make up that difference. That no longer exists for our district. And that's a huge challenge. I mean, when you look at, you don't have to go to the I-5 corridor to see the differences between districts. I mean, the Sequim School District has approximately $2 billion more assessed land that they tax. So the summary of that is they can tax less per 1,000 for their tax base and raise more money. And so we can't, and we have a responsibility to be competitive on the Olympic Peninsula with regards to our salary rates, to our class sizes, to all of those pieces, that impact education on the northern end of the Olympic Peninsula. We have to compete, and we need to compete. This is a very proud district, and we do things very well in our district. So, but that's a kind of at the core.
Right.
And I'm concerned around the narrative and some conversations around, well, you just need to raise your EP&O levy rates, and no, that's not the answer. Really, I mean, this is a state formula problem, and it needs to be addressed at the state level.
And this is not the only district that's dealing with this too. And I would tend to think that probably I could probably find most of these districts on a map by kind of where they're located, a little more rural area, not a lot of necessary industry, high assessment rate for business, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And our state is really around, focuses in on the equity movement and providing resources for students that need the resources. But this is a very inequitable system that we're using for funding schools. Because if you're in certain regions, you benefit greatly from the model. And if you're in other regions, you have a huge detriment to your funding. And so, public education should be similar in every region of this state and give every student across the state an equal opportunity to be successful in school and have the resources necessary to do that work. So again, I'm going to continue to advocate and push and fight and do everything I can to work with the state legislature around understanding, maybe some of the components that need to be addressed and fixed. But that would be kind of at the core.
Yeah.
There are other formulas that, don't work for our district, but that's a big one. Yeah. And, Todd, if I can just work off of that a bit, is the other big component is the lack of SPED funding.
That's my next question. That's a huge chunk of this. Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm very appreciative for the state legislature to go from 13.5% funding to 15%. Basically what that means is you take all of your students, we have about 3,450 students, and you get 15% of that would be SPED funded. So they're not funding person by person or student by student. They just say 15% of your population will likely be SPED, will fund at that rate.
And that's special education for folks who might not catch that. Yes, I just want to make
special
sure.
Special education. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
And so the challenge there is for our district, we're at 18%. And so I am very appreciative of the state legislature from going from 13.5% funding rate to 15%. I know that's a lot of work and a lot of money statewide, but we really need in our district, for the state legislature to step up and fully fund special ed. Again, going back to equity and giving every student what he or she deserves to be in school and have an equal opportunity, special ed has to be funded. When a child qualifies for special education, that now is part of their basic education plan. And the state constitution references the first, I'm drawing a blank right now, but the paramount duty of the state of Washington is to fund basic education first before anything else gets funded. Now, I don't want to go to war with anybody about what else needs to be funded. There's a lot of things that need to be funded across the state of Washington, but the Constitution is very clear. And so when a student qualifies for special education, it is a black and white issue. That student needs to be funded. And right now what's happening is we are using for that difference. So we're at above 18% of our student body. We're now funded at 15%. So those 3% of students, which we have, about 647 students, so we're talking, dozens of students not funded by the state of Washington, we have to pick up that bill locally. And that bill, where we have flexible funds to be able to pick up that bill, is our local EP&O levy. So the rate that you and I both pay for our property taxes for the enrichment side of education, which is, again, athletics, you've got your music program, and you've got your support services for students. As our special ed expenditures continue to rise, and our SPED population is growing, that money has to come from our EP&O. And so you can see what starts happening. Therefore, you see the budget reductions and start having conversations around, and I know this was earlier in the year, around, not filling a band position,
Right,
which is near and dear to this community's heart. And I get that. And our board and this school system wants to maintain those services. But as special ed costs continue to grow, that money's got to come from somewhere, and so there has to be compression of what you're thinking about doing with your EP&O. So again, we really need the state legislature to address this issue before it's too late, and we lose some programs that are very near and dear to the heart of Port Angeles residents.
2 points on this, and I know that probably the answer is this. People are probably very surprised when they hear this conversation about special ed. I think most lay folks out there think, well, what? We're not funding them? I mean, it's treated like any other student in most people's mind. Do you agree? Do you find that when you lay this out to folks, they go, really?
Yeah.
You have to pay. And granted, it does cost more. You got to bring in extra support quite often and things like that. But I think a lot of folks think that's already built into the state funding.
Yeah,
100%.
I find that as well.
Yeah.
When I talk at length about it and in detail, I met with the Democrat Party, during the session, and was advocating for some sort of support around this initiative, and they were surprised to hear that special ed students weren't fully funded. So it's something that needs to be changed. It needs to be addressed. And again, I want to loop all the way back around. I'm not here to be critical of, the last session. They made some movement. And I appreciate that, to go from 13.5% funding to 15% funding.
That is significant.
That is significant. But, the paramount duty of the state is very clear. And so, before there's, and there was this last session for the first time, I started hearing some conversations around lawsuits, like the McCleary funding lawsuit. I hope it doesn't come to that. Because we need to find a path now to, do right by the students that are working or that are coming up through our system. And it's simply not fair. It's not equitable to say, hey, we can't offer this athletic program because we're paying for more special ed funding, which is the responsibility of the state. And so my hope is the 15% increase or the 1.5% increase is a sign and an indication of more commitment to come in the next session.
Port Angeles, let's face the fact that you are an attractant for SPED students as well. It's just the nature of things. You're the more urban area. People tend to go where there are services. You've got the services. So, and you can't turn folks away. And that's part of this too. Right. I mean, you're bringing in students that maybe in a larger ratio, if you will, than perhaps other districts.
Yeah, and I think that's true. And I've since I've been hired, that's the narrative that's been shared to me. We are the largest school system on the northern end of the Olympic Peninsula, and so we do have, a pretty robust, service model for our special ed students. And if you're in a smaller community and looking for maybe more supports, families have moved here to, experience and provide those services for their children. So, and you're right, once a student qualifies, whether that be in our district or at another district, it's not even a conversation. It's a legal responsibility to provide service to that student. And so that law applies at the local level. It should also apply at the state level.
I think it's a little hypocritical in some ways that you in the local district have to deal with it, and the state doesn't seem to want to deal with it.
There is zero chance that we would be able to carry out a conversation with a family to say, hey, your students qualifies for special ed, but we're not going to provide them service because we're out of money or we don't have money. That would not bode well. We would be sued. And so the same premise should apply at the state level. Oh, we don't have any more money. But we have to provide service to the students. So again, I see, good movement, and I'm appreciative of that movement. We need to get there. the next session, and I hope we can.
All right, before we leave this, and then we'll take a break and come back and talk about some other things. Let's talk about the sixth grade band thing, because that went away and now it's been replaced. Tell maybe define for folks how you were able to kind of save that, what that's going to look like moving forward for the program.
So, when you're cutting $5 million in a $55 million organization, or 9%, it's pretty tough, like to get to the 9% or the $5 million. And so we were looking at not filling positions through attrition. And so our sixth grade band teacher did retire. Very happy for him. He's done a great job for our community, John Kilsner. And so the thought process around not filling that position is to not hire that position and, not fill it through attrition, which would, in theory, save another person's job. That's the concept behind it. There were some voices and concerns across the community. I get that. This school district really stands on the back of music education, and we're very proud of it. And I know this board supports the music programs. I support the music programs. We support it. And so when that recommendation was made, the board did approve it. But we have phenomenal educators in our school system. Jarrett Hansen, which is the Port Angeles High School band director, he, came in and we met. Michelle Olson, assistant soup, myself, and Jarrett met, and he had some very creative solutions on how we could make this work for a year. And that solution was, because numbers over COVID have shrunk in our music programs, he had the capacity to be able to teach 4 band classes at Port Angeles High School next year and teach 3 classes at Stevens Middle School next year for his full FTE, or his full schedule. And so he will be the music teacher at both Stevens and Port Angeles High School next year, which is a great way to build your program as well. To be able to,
see
start
who's
with middle
coming up
schoolers
through,
and build them into keep them into the program. Right. And so he's trying to increase numbers for band at Port Angeles High School, and that's a great way to do it. And so when he was willing or able to do that based on the numbers and, commitment, and it will be a full teaching schedule. He won't have a prep period or a preparation period. He'll be compensated for that, but he will work, full 7 periods a day. And typically at Port Angeles High School, you'll work 6 out of 7 periods. So he's showing huge leadership and commitment to building that program, and I am so appreciative of that. But when he was able to do that with his assignment, then that would give us the capacity to be able to replace the 6th grade band teacher so that we could maintain 6th. So in theory, we're going from 3 band directors or 3 band teachers to 2, and that's what we needed to do with regard to reductions across the system. And so, again, Jarrett's leadership in the music department was outstanding. His commitment to the program, he's here to stay. He wants to build the best, he wants to, rebuild the best band program in the state of Washington, and believe me, he'll get that done.
Interesting. Well, there you go. So 6th, and in the end, 6th grade continues to have a band program when it's all said and done. All right. Moving on to some other things. So you got some capital levy. Give us an update on some of the capital projects, and especially as we're starting to move forward. Some things have been happening. Some things will soon be happening.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on in capital right now. If you happen to drive up Monroe Field, you can see that Brook and Brook have started the civil work out there. Land is being moved around, and good progress there, and on or ahead of schedule at this point in time. So to remind folks, the Monroe Field project, we took that project to bid on two sides, the civil work, which Brook and Brook secured, and then we went through a state contract, and Field Turf USA will actually do the synthetic field. We hope that this facility will be opened in August or September of this year. So you see a lot of progress there, and we're excited to be able to bring that as an option to the community, or as a 365, a full year field in the Port Angeles community.
We don't have one at this point.
And there's pros. I mean, there are folks that are for this and folks that are against this. And the one thing that I come back around to is our young or our students and our children of our community need to have healthy activities like year round. And this gives our community, a field that they can count on, regardless of the weather outside. You can literally pour a bucket of water on this field and it will just go away, and there's no mud and you don't have to worry about wearing out the turf. And so, this field is as much for the community, if not more so, than it is for Port Angeles School District. This is an investment in our community. We are going to use this field for soccer at Port Angeles High School, because currently right now we use the synthetic field up at Peninsula College, and we'll probably still use that to some degree, but but there won't be Port Angeles High School football games here. There might be on occasion like a softball game there based on the rain during the springtime, but its primary purpose is a community field. We want to see the future Riders football, programs out there. We want to see the soccer programs out there with the little guys and girls out there playing. So that's what the field is for. And this has been on the strategic plan for a number of years by the Port Angeles School Board, that we wanted some play fields, some quality play fields on the east side of town, which currently don't exist. And so this is a great investment in our community. I think it will bring a lot of value to our community, and I know that the folks that have children and will participate in all those athletic programs and different programs across the community will really appreciate and enjoy this field.
Stevens Middle School, getting closer to get some things done there, I understand.
Yes, we're making good progress there. We've been working with the architectural firm. We started probably fall of last school year, or this school year, I'm sorry. And, we're going, we've gone through the ed spec process. We're in the schematic design phase, and things are progressing very nicely. The end result is we're looking at 109,000 square feet. So there's some additional square footage to be added there, and some very creative conversations on how we take the existing footprint of the building and make it into a whole. Because in the end, we want this building to look like it all fits, right? We don't want to look like there was an addition in 1970 and an addition in 2025. So I think in the end, folks will be very happy with the result. The architectural firm Integris is the name of the firm. Sometimes you have to be cautious around a firm coming in like that, because they have, they're like artists, right? And so they have an agenda. This firm does not have an agenda. I tell you what, they have come in, and we have two groups that have been working with them. We have the Port Angeles Capital Advisory Committee, which is made up of community members as well as school staff. And then we have the DAC, which is the Design Advisory Committee from Stevens, which is made up of staff. And so every individual on both of those teams that I've spoken with is very complimentary of Integris for just listening and hearing what we want in a school. We don't want a school that looks like it was built for, Mercer Island or Bellevue school system. We want a school that represents who we are in this community. And so I think with the way the conversations are headed now, and the design at this point in time, which nothing has been approved by the board, so there is no design out there, but just the conversations around the design, I think this community will be very appreciative of the thoughts and, kind of the potential design that this school will be experiencing in the near future.
All right, Marty, we could talk forever and ever, but I always appreciate you coming in when you can, and a nice deep dive into some of the school finance issues, certainly that face the local district. Have a terrific summer. If you can. I know you work all year, though, so there's more stuff to come, and I'm sure we'll get you back on real soon.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time.
That's Marty Brewer. He is the superintendent for the Port Angeles School District. We will take a quick break, and we're going to get your business all in tune with our business bits coming up next.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg salutes our military veterans, active duty, and first responders each and every day. This isn't a special or a one-time deal. 365 days a year, Red Carpet offers 10% off all services to this special group. Please let them know who you are so they can honor you. And for Purple Heart recipients, you'll receive a free wash anytime, every day. Please accept our appreciation for your service and sacrifice. Red Carpet Car Wash, open Monday through Sunday, 8 till 5.
Hi, I'm Mercedes.
And I'm John. We are Foghorn Olive Oil Company. The Mediterranean diet is one of the healthiest diets because of olive oils and balsamic vinegars.
At Foghorn Olive Oil Company, we have the most recently produced, delicious, and healthiest olive oils and balsamic vinegars with over 60 flavors to taste.
And here's an easy way to remember our names. Everybody wants a Mercedes, but everyone needs a John.
Come see us in downtown Port Angeles.
And now a word from our sponsor of the Todd Ortloff Show, Sapor. In addition to the fine dining experience and the bistro at Sapor Restaurant in downtown Port Angeles, there's the Trap Door Club. They offer the best in craft cocktails in a cozy, romantic atmosphere. At Sapor, fresh also means local. Sapor is focused on working in partnership with our local farmers, foragers, vintners, growers, and fishermen to bring you quality that can only come when it's local. If you want to join Sapor in this partnership, do give them a call. Contact them today. And you can also experience Sapor right here on the TO Show, where I will be giving away a Sapor gift certificate every week. Yeah, Sapor, underground in Port Angeles, open 7 days a week from 5 to 9 p.m. Friday night and weekend reservations are strongly recommended. Check them out now at Facebook or online, or give them a call, 360-417-6929, 417-6929.
The Clallam and Jefferson County Perinatal Mental Health Task Force presents the free Community Connection Baby Shower, June 10th at the Vern Burton Community Center from 9:30 to 1. Enjoy a complimentary breakfast and an informative presentation on managing wellness during and after pregnancy by the North Olympic Healthcare Network. Connect with 25-plus local organizations offering support and tips for your family's well-being. Caregivers can try mini yoga and chair massages in the Family Wellness Corner. Dads can learn valuable skills and win a barbecue gift basket at the Father's Corner. And kids will have a blast in the Kids Zone. The Frugal's food truck will be there too, and thanks to our partnership with Molina Healthcare, the first 100 to register will eat for free. Hosted by First Step Family Support Center, the City of Port Angeles, North Olympic Healthcare Network, Olympic Medical Center, Molina Healthcare, and AmeriGroup. You can find all of the details and list of events at firststepfamilysupportcenter.org and click on the Calendar and Events Baby Shower tab. Let's support your family's growth and well-being together.
How would you like greater control over your electric account? Hi, this is Clallam PUD, and our Smart Pay prepaid account lets you manage your account and track your daily usage from the convenience of your computer or smartphone. Did you know the typical prepaid customer uses 10 to 12% less energy than they did before? It works just like a prepaid cell phone plan. No deposits, no late fees, no billing statements. Visit clallampud.net for more information and find out if Smart Pay might be right for you.
All right, we're going to take one more quick break. We'll be back to get your business all tuned up. We have our business bits with our business guru, Kevin Holt, coming up next.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg salutes our military veterans, active duty, and first responders each and every day. This isn't a special or a one-time deal. 365 days a year, Red Carpet offers 10% off all services to this special group. Please let them know who you are so they can honor you. And for Purple Heart recipients, you'll receive a free wash anytime, every day. Please accept our appreciation for your service and sacrifice. Red Carpet Car Wash, open Monday through Sunday, 8 till 5.
It's Victoria Jones with the North Olympic Discovery Marathon. Time to get ready. Lace them up for the 21st annual North Olympic Discovery Marathon along the Discovery Trail. It's one of the most scenic courses anywhere. Thousands of runners from across the country and around the world will run the course. Marathon weekend is June 3rd and 4th with the 5K, 10K, and Kids Marathon on Saturday, June 3rd at Port Angeles City Pier. Sunday, June 4th features the marathon, half marathon, and marathon relay. Volunteers play a vital role marathon weekend. You, your friends, and your organizations can get involved. All volunteers receive a t-shirt, a terrific meal, and 1,000 thank yous. Sign up, go to nodm.com and click volunteers.
Race day is fast approaching. Sign up now to take part in the North Olympic Discovery Marathon June 3rd and 4th. Details at nodm.com. Presented by First Federal and partnered by KONP, Straight Country 102.1 and Z104.9.
All right, we're back with more. It is time on Thursday, the last bit of our show every Thursday devoted to business stuff. And as I always say, it's not just about if you own a business, maybe you're thinking about getting into a business, or maybe you're running a business, or you know someone who runs a business, or
That's
even
right.
you work in a business. Some of this stuff might be
Or
good
you
for
care about somebody who is doing any of those
Right.
things. That's right.
So all of this can be some good advice for you. And Kevin Holt joins us. Kevin is our retired business advisor,
Yes.
but yet I keep dragging him in as a publicly advising
Can't stop
business.
me.
Yeah, I
That's
can't.
right.
Anyway, so glad to have you back, Kevin.
A pleasure.
Today we're going to, and you teased this last
Yes.
week, where to go, the right places to go.
Please.
To get good information for researching your business.
Exactly. And as Todd
And a lot
pointed
of
out,
it's free.
It is all free.
Yeah.
Everything I'll tell you about today is free. And as Todd talked about last week, it's really important to look at it from the perspective of not falling into the trap of only taking things in that agree with what you want to do. And we'll talk about what that says in clinical terms in a minute. But yes, when you want to do your business research, you need to change sides and start attacking your idea as if you don't like it, because that's the only way you're going to shake out the bad parts that need to be addressed, or find areas where you discover a terrible risk you didn't know was there. And that, to me, is the number one thing you want to do. When we do business research, we do it to understand our risk. And we won't get a good understanding of that risk if all we do is ride the magic pony to Happy Land. So we got to take a really hard look at this and say, where could I find a red flag? Where might I go wrong? Mm-hmm. So last week we talked about just the general philosophy of how you want to go forward. And we're going to wrap that up this week with where you go. So looking for yes, dangerous, don't do it. Look for no, the internet, don't do it. What you're going to have to, because that's your source. It's a great place, but it can also be really confusing. It can also be a little bit dangerous. When I was an IT tech, one of my clients asked me how we know how to do all these things. I said, well, a lot of times we do look it up online. And they answered rather angrily, well, what do? Put my computer doesn't work? And so again, like we talked about in previous shows, asking the right question. I had a little fun with my website because I was trying to solve the wrong problem. I wasn't asking the right question. So the number one thing you need to do in your research is make sure you're asking the right questions. Now, a nice way to figure out if you're asking the right question is to leave the internet alone for a while and go down to your local library. In fact, I'm going to put that number one on your valuable places to seek out information about your business, because you get three things at the library that you won't get online. You get access, first of all, to licensed databases and limited circulation publications. So again, a client that I was working with had an outdoor business, and he went to the library at my demand. I told him he couldn't come back for another meeting until he went to the library. And they introduced him to the Outdoor Marketing Association, who publishes an annual compendium that basically tells you exactly what to put in your store and exactly how much to charge for it. Because these specialized industries share a lot of data with their members, whatever organization it might be, and then they therefore get this consolidated information that all the other businesses in the country that participate share back. So you learn what brand of ice axe and what kind of crampons and what brand of rope people are finding the most value in. So you don't have to experiment. And he came back and he said, I'm suddenly much happier about the taxes I paid for my library because the assistance was unbelievable, and the information is unbelievable. The second thing you get curated collections of information. It's not a fire hose that just blasts on you. And it's a funny thing. People who study library science as part of advancing their knowledge in the practice will create bibliographies for various subjects. So they do this as part of their professional requirements. You just might find a bibliography that lists all the readings you might need to master a certain subject. And so it can be very exciting. And again, these are prepared by real humans. And then finally, yes, you will be across the counter or next to someone who is there, who is committed, dedicated, and educated to helping you find information. And they're pretty good at helping you ask a better question, too.
Right. I've seen it. They'll rephrase for you. They'll say, is this really what, or is that?
We could probably go a little farther if you added this, right, or those sorts of things. So it's a coaching experience. So don't overlook the library.
Problem with the library for folks in this modern age is that it requires you to physically go someplace.
No.
And so many people would just like to sit on their couch with their laptop or their iPad or whatever it is just Google away.
That's right. Well, there's an old song about move your body, and that's what you got to do. And again, you might even meet other people at the library who are doing research, who might be good, interested research partners. It's just amazing what happens when you expose yourself to people. Mm-hmm. Not that way, but nevertheless.
We know what you mean, Kevin.
So the next thing I'd like people to think about is that when they are researching and analyzing these business opportunities, they're going to run into terms and concepts that they probably haven't heard before. And that can also lead to some confusion. So I have listed a collection of websites that people can use to really build up their business vocabulary. And where have I listed those? Well, I've listed those on a document that I have already placed on kevinyourbusinesscoach.com. If you're using a desktop, it's at the top right. If you're using a mobile device, it's around the middle where the videos start. But either way, you can click right now and look at this document if you so desire, but not if you're driving. Please don't do that if you're driving.
Pull over. if you're that excited, find a place to stop for a moment.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, kevinyourbusinesscoach.com.
That's right, the new one.
Yeah, that's
and it works.
A lot of people may say, well, wait a minute, that's not what he used to use. No, he's got a new URL.
Yes.
He's got a new spot because of the whole story.
He learned to solve the right problem.
That's right. All right.
And so in these links, and some of them are private, some of them are public, but all the way around, you will get both the old kind of vocabulary list with terms over here, definitions over here. You get some drop-down lists. Hey, I need to know more about this. So there's about 7 links there. Give them a try. Everything from the SBA and Harvard Business Review to Investopedia and the Practical Business Links page. So these are great places to go to just build your chops. The next thing I suggest people do if they're new to business is to visit a couple of sites that give them general reading information about being in business. The SBA has a great site that only talks about what you need to have in mind as you function as a business person. So there'll be information there about the philosophy of management if you have employees. They'll have information there about inventory management if you want to sell goods. So very good information there. And I was surprised to see that this is still the case, but the Houston Chronicle newspaper maintains a really robust library of very wide-ranging short reads about specific businesses. This is how people start an espresso stand. This is how people start a collection agency.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What do you suppose got them started to do that?
I have a suspicion.
It doesn't seem like a traditional newspaper sort of effort. But
years ago, there was a company that published a collection of these. And a lot of them read very familiar. So I think what they did is they purchased those and they added it to their site under their masthead to build content.
There you go, a content creation thing.
Yep.
Okay.
But they're all good, specifically because they're very short. They don't go in depth. They don't bring to the fore information that will become obsolete. They just talk about, in very general terms, if you want to start a collection agency, your state government will probably want you to post a bond, and you do need to be familiar with financial records. You're going to be involved in court cases. It's going to be a contentious relationships with some people, so that's what you have to prepare with if you're going to be in a collection agency. And they're a little longer than that, but they give you a nice way to see the kinds of businesses you might want to start through the eyes of the people who've run them and want to warn you about what it's going to be like. And so I was very impressed with that, and I went back and checked it before I made this list, and it's still there. So
okay,
great place to go to just get that general overall view. Another great source of information are commercial sites that offer general business information to build their credibility and cause you to value their opinion, sometimes for the purpose of later sell you something. Be careful about that, but they still have some value. And we won't get into the nitty-gritty of the links, but I'll just tell you the companies that do this. NerdWallet, a financial services company, and they have a lot of great tools for business analysis, looking into specialized online calculators, things like that. They also have great articles, if you happen to be a parent, to help your child, very much in the Dave Ramsey vein of this is how you can help your child develop some financial literacy. And they also have some great readings for people who are 18, 19 and just going out on their own. Hey, you're going to rent an apartment. These are the things to look out for in your lease, things of that nature. So great site. They do sell things. Stay away from the buy now button until you know exactly what problem you're solving with that. But it's a good site, lots of good readings. HubSpot sells marketing automation software. And to improve your opinion of their skills and abilities, they have a huge collection of marketing readings. So that's a lot of fun if you want to learn more about marketing. Again, you'll constantly be offered to sign up for HubSpot. You want to think real hard about what role that might play in your life, but the information they offer is very good. And then this is, it's known as QuickBooks, but the company behind it is Intuit. Yeah, and they sell that big 800-pound gorilla of bookkeeping automation that is a universal in small businesses. There are competing applications that have been kind of bouncing around in the market for the last 10 years. They have a single-digit percentage of the market. And QuickBooks has everything else. And so that's a good site to visit for information about all aspects of business management. It's very much related to finance, although they recently bought MailChimp and they do own TurboTax. So you
might find some tax things. You may find a little bit about some marketing.
Email marketing application. I use MailChimp myself. So good application. And in fact, when I was president of the Port Angeles Business Association, I introduced that august body
so you're the one to blame
concept.
that I keep getting the
I'm the guy. I'm the one. And I'm surprised they've kept it going, but they have. So
it's
it must
actually
work.
very effective, and they use it well.
Now, over the years, I've had clients who didn't do what I'm about to talk about, and that's why they came to see me, and it always ended in disaster. Understanding your business risks includes reviewing potential regulatory requirements. And those have changed tremendously in the last 10 years. Washington used to be a great place to be an employer. Now, not so sure. But if you're going to be an employer, or if you're going to be in business, you need to know this information. Washington State has put together a very good website with a terrible name that can help you really learn a lot about your requirements. It's called the Office of Regulatory Innovation and Assistance. Rolls right off the tongue. But it's known as ORIA, of course. So get there, and there's a link on the document. But when you get there, you will get information about your business regulations. You'll be sent to Employment Security, to Labor and Industries, to Department of Revenue to understand
it's really a
those.
Dashboard. I mean, it's
It's
just
very
a
good.
turnkey operation there is getting you engaged into what you need.
And it has wizards where you can say,
oh, perfect. So I'm doing this?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm going to start a window washing business. What do I do? And they walk you right down through the process.
Okay.
Because I have had people who discovered at the end of a busy summer of a service business they ran that they were supposed to be sending in sales tax. Or those employees needed to have employment security taxes and labor and industries premiums paid. And man, there's a hard problem to solve after all the money's been collected and everybody's gone home for the summer, and then you get a letter certified from the DOR saying, hey, we want to talk to you. So definitely visit that site. It's going to help you a lot. In the same vein, the IRS has another very good website for self-employed and small business. Visit there. It's easy reading. They have videos in several languages. You really can help yourself. Thousands of questions come in to the Small Business Development Centers about intellectual property protection. We turn them right around and send them to the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And the one thing we also talk to people about is be real clear if you're starting to focus on a patent, what that's going to get you. Because if you're not Bill Gates, it may not be of any value to you. Because copyrights are protected by the federal government, and they will pursue your copyright claim for you. Patent is just a license to sue somebody. So unless you're ready to do that, well, it may not. Again, that's. I'm not a patent attorney. You need to talk to one. But don't get up in the morning and say, I'm going to get a patent and I'm going to make $1 million, because that hasn't been shown to be the case in most cases. And I did have one client who spent 10 years getting a patent, and by the time that client was done, they had no more interest in their idea. They were completely burned out. Yeah. So they walked away from it. Last time we talked about critical thinking and defensible conclusions. We've got the links to the sites I quoted there. And then there's raw data. Once you know what you want to know, data is where you need to go. And these are the federal sites that have it all. Unfortunately, they have it all. Yeah. So they are notoriously difficult to navigate, and they're incredibly challenging, but take your time and remember, you can't break it. Just keep pounding on it till you get what you want. You can't hurt it. But the Census Bureau, that'll give you everything you need to know about population trends and some business trends, too. Bureau of Labor Statistics, everything about workers. Careers in demand, industries facing shortages, industries with surpluses, so you can prepare yourself for the staffing needs that you might have. There's two rather arcane links here. One is to the Congressional Research Service. Most people will have no interest in that, but if you're doing something very specialized or specific in technology or healthcare, you can go and see what the Congressional Research Service put together in terms of reports to Congress for some of these very specialized activities. You also have the Federal Reserve economic data. Again, really chewy, but it does have a great online database. It's going to give you all kinds of economic data. It's going to give you time series, national, international, public, private. It's a great site for those really, I've got to drill down and find out this one thing about the economy, place to go. GovInfo. That's a service of the United States Government Publishing Office. You might remember the old Pueblo, Colorado mail for the free catalog of consumer information. Well, all of that plus everything else they've ever put together has been pushed over to GovInfo. So you can find out information about the various government services and get those cautionary writings for consumers and things of that nature from there. Now, the George W. Bush administration pushed a lot of those consumer documents off the government information site, but they've returned. So don't want those people to find out too much about their rights, do we? And then there's another place hardly anybody would ever go, but when you need it, and that's the Electronic Code of Federal Regulations. A great example is when one of my clients applies for an SBA insured loan, many of the documents that they have to sign call out different federal CFRs, federal regulations, saying, hey, you have to sign this document because of CFR 57.96235.
Here's how you find out what that is.
Find out what the heck you got yourself into. Right,
yeah,
exactly. So you can look that up.
I live in a world of CFRs.
Yes, you sure do. Because you are so federal. Yep. And just to wrap up, business analysis tools. Now you've got the question, you've got the information, and you've got the data. The heck you going to do with it? Well, you used to have to be a spreadsheet wizard to put all this stuff together, but now there's all kinds of calculators and presentation documents. You can just go right online, open up what you want, click in some numbers, find some things. Most of us are experienced with this with the mortgage calculator, and these other business calculators operate in a very similar way. So there's also a great one and a collection of them I have here for business valuation. And, business valuation is first of mind when you're buying or selling, but it can also be something you can put together when you're projecting the future of your business and where do I want to get to and will I know I'm there. Marketing, all kinds of market resource lists here. There's 7 different ways to look at marketing, and all of these sites provide really good information to help you learn more about how to serve your market. And then there are other people like me who do this too. So I've put a collection of links from other organizations that give you links for business research. Yes, yes. So make a cup of coffee and prepare to spend some time. 2 quick pro tips. set up, this is Kim Commando talking, set up an alternate email account and some protected contact information to use in case you need to register for something. So we can all go to a free email service, Gmail, Hotmail. Well, I don't think Hotmail's around anymore, but Outlook.com is, and all those others, and create a, business research at gmail.com for yourself. So you have an email you can throw in when they say, hey, we'd love to send you this information. Give us an email.
And it can go to a place where you never even really take a look at it again.
Or you take a look when you want to know what came in there, but it doesn't come in where you do your banking. And then use your favorite application to breadcrumb. You've got to find your way back to these sources that you used if you use that information for persuasive purposes. When I see Todd at the Thanksgiving dinner and I want to show him my data, I've got to know where I got it.
I've got to call that thing up somehow. And
got to show it to him on my phone. That's right.
Right on. Hey, this is incredible. I'm going to be going to some of these just for
my own
edification there. I go to kevinyourbusinesscoach.com.
That's right.
That's Kevin Holt's website, his new website.
Lots
of great old
same
and
website,
new
address, yep.
And he's got this incredible document that's got a ton of information.
5 pages of links. That's right.
It. So thanks, Kevin,
a pleasure
for curating that for us as well.
You're very welcome.
As well as coming in as you do every Thursday.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
Nice to be here. We'll see you next week.
We will. And on that note, that's going to put the wraps on our show this afternoon. And we'll wrap it all up for the week. It'll be the Girl Friday show here at this time tomorrow afternoon. We'll see you then. Up next, it's Dave Ramsey, speaking of things financial, right after we check in with ABC News at the top of the hour.
Online at myclallamcounty.com. News Radio KONP, Port Angeles, Squim, a Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The Senate now tasked with getting the debt package across the finish line before Monday. That's when the U.S. is projected to default on its loan obligations. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze says a vote could happen tonight if changes don't trigger a delay.
Senator Tim Kaine has said that he wants to remove a provision in the bill that would expedite this natural gas pipeline that Senator Joe Manchin has been pushing for. We've also heard from the Bernie Sanders of the world saying they don't like the work requirement provisions in this. The Senator Mike Lees of the world basically saying that they think this doesn't cut enough spending. So really the question is going to come down to how much will that amendment process hold up the vote.
President Biden